Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brighton Town Board meeting, January 22, 2020. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and we're pleased to have all of you here with us tonight. We're pleased to have you here whether you're with us in person. We have a number of folks here in the room tonight. But as we always do, we offer you the opportunity to watch our meeting, whether you're live streaming us on YouTube or watching on cable access channel 1303. We welcome you as well to be a part of this meeting. And to make it easier, all of the materials that we are looking at, you can look at as well. The agenda for tonight's meeting and all of the supporting material for every action we're going to be considering tonight are on the Brighton Town webpage, www.townofbrighton.org, and we welcome you to follow along with us. We'll start, as we always do, with a pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilmember Warner to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And one of the other things we do to make sure our meetings are as accessible to the entire community as possible is we have ASL interpreters here, so I'd like to welcome our interpreters tonight, Melissa Lanty and Susan Pence. Thank you both. Occasionally, if you're watching us on Spectrum, cable channel 1303, if you experience any technical difficulties with either the audio or the video as you're watching, please contact Spectrum. Their phone number is 756-5000. That's 756-5000. In addition, if you should hear the town's emergency alarm system go off, please leave the room and, more importantly, leave the building as quickly as possible. You can do that either through the door to my right, marked with the exit sign. If you go out that door, turn right, go down the stairs, out the back door of Town Hall, and away from the building. You can also leave by the two double doors in the back of the room here, go through the lobby, out through the main front doors of Town Hall, down the steps, and again, away from the building. And would ask you not to return to the building until an all clear is given in that case. I'm going to hold for the moment on the presentation of a proclamation in the hopes that the person to whom the presentation is going to be made will be here. We are expecting Reverend Dr. Iris Bannister to join us, but she hasn't been able to get here yet, so I'm just going to hold on that for the moment. But I am going to call the meeting to order. And the other thing we do with that, before we start on our open forum, I do want to acknowledge we have a number of scouts here tonight. For those of you that don't follow scouting closely enough, I use the word scouts advisedly because what has been known as Boy Scouts over the years now welcomes girls. And so we have both boys and girls who are in scouting here tonight. They are working on their Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. And I was talking with them beforehand, trying to guess that it was probably about 52 years ago that I earned the Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge in 1968. For those of you that were around in 68, it really was a momentous year for the country, a very troubling and disturbing year for the country. A lot was happening. And I think just living through 1968 qualified you as citizenship in the community. We saw the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. We saw the assassination of Robert Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, presidential candidate that year. It was a very traumatic time for our country, but it's good, it's refreshing, in what I think we could only describe as, again, troubling times for our country, to see Scouts here continuing to practice good citizenship in a way that, frankly, we don't always see. So thank you for being here, and good luck on getting the merit badges, and good luck on continuing to advance. And I look forward to attending maybe 3 Eagle Courts of Honor in the not-too-distant future. Yeah, I'm not sure. So in any event, welcome to everybody that is here tonight, and we start our meetings with an open forum. The open forum is an opportunity for anyone to come up and ask a question or give some comments on any matter, whether or not it's a matter that's on our agenda this evening. So we will now start the open forum portion of the meeting, and I'll ask if there is anybody that would like to come up during the open forum. Judy, do you want to? Sure. It's that time of year.
The Brighton Neighbors United Supper is March 1st, 6 o'clock at Buckland Lodge, and it's a potluck. It's $5 a person. We ask that you bring your own place setting. If you want more information, call me, 442-5111. It's open to the entire community, so come one, come all. And we have a program that's going to inform people. This year, last year, I think we did the same thing. Last year was Sebastian, I think, which was informational too. But we try to have it, some entertainment and some things that we learned too. So again, March 1st, 6 o'clock, and reservations are due by February 13th. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you for holding this event year after year. Great community building and informative. So thank you. Okay, I think we will continue. I know Bridget is...
Move that we approve the agenda?
Is there a second?
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wiltz?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye, and I will just ask again, is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Okay, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here.
And Bill, we also have a student from the school attending. Welcome. We always enjoy having students here watching government in action.
Absolutely. Okay. Oh, I hear the door. Marvelous, marvelous.
Well done.
Timing is everything. All right, I'm going to, well. I'll give you a minute to take your coat off. Of course, this past Monday was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Day, a day that we celebrate in many different ways. The life, the significance of Dr. King's life to all of us. I'm really pleased to see the community broadly finding new ways to celebrate Dr. King's life. On Friday, I had the opportunity to attend the Dr. Martin Luther King Assembly at Brighton High School. Now, this assembly was entirely student-run. It was run by the Black Student Union at Brighton High School. Andre Lanier, vice president, and the other members of the Black Student Union. The assembly featured Chaz Bruce. And Chaz is a local. I describe him in sort of adult, when I'm talking to other adults, I describe he's a hip-hop motivational speaker. But more than that, he is probably the premier social media influence leader here in the Rochester area. Chaz has, in just a year, generated 2.7 million followers on TikTok. That is an extraordinary number. He has had over 50 million responses, comments to his TikTok posts. He had the entire gymnasium moving, listening, engaged with what he was saying, what he was doing, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Hats off to the Black Student Union for putting this great event together. And I did present a town proclamation to the Black Student Union at the assembly. Now on Monday, Martin Luther King Day starts with a community celebration downtown at Kodak Hall. And again, a wonderful event of music, young people, recognition for people who have put the teachings of Dr. King to work in the community. Following that community celebration, the Brighton Memorial Library each year hosts, actually this was the 9th year, hosts the Black Storytelling League, led by Dr. David Anderson, and a host of other storytellers. Every year, the room is full, the multimedia room there in the library. Parents, grandparents, but especially kids. And these kids, if you can see the look on their faces, if you see the way they're engaged, and again, this is a two-way, this is storytelling, and it's very much a two-way audience participation. These kids are just getting so much out of the stories that they are hearing. So it's just a great event. I encourage everyone, particularly those of you that have children and grandchildren, next year to make it to this wonderful event at the library on Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Now, the big community celebration would not exist if it were not for Reverend Dr. Iris Bannister. Dr. Bannister is the past chair of the M.L. King Rochester Commission, the group that organizes and holds this celebration every year. She is the past executive director of Wilson Commencement Park. She has a long, long resume of educational and academic work. She is an author. She is a speaker. She is truly a community leader. And it's particularly fitting this year because in this year where we celebrate the 100th anniversary of women fighting for and finally earning the right to vote, that the theme this year was Makers of History, the women of the movement. So tonight I'd like to call up Dr. Iris Bannister, if you would join me at the podium. and it's an honor, truly an honor, to have you here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to read this proclamation, which I'm presenting to Dr. Bannister on behalf of the entire town board, honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the town of Brighton. Whereas the Congress of the United States of America, in a fitting tribute to the birth, the life, and the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., has designated the third Monday of every January as a national holiday. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., through personal sacrifice and community service, promoted his belief in the equality of all men and women, and courageously employed the principles of nonviolence as the primary strategy to fight for freedom and justice for all. And whereas the only federal holiday with the dual designation as a national day of service, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is also a time to serve others through volunteerism and live out his words by engaging in community action that seeks to solve social problems. And whereas we honor Dr. King's life and teachings and work to continue breaking down barriers and bringing people from different backgrounds together to build stronger communities and stand firm against those who would undo his legacy. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, on behalf of the members of the Brighton Town Board, do hereby commemorate Monday, January 20, 2020, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the town of Brighton, and ask that the people of the town of Brighton not only reflect on the ideals that Dr. King embodied, but continue his work every day by working together with friends and neighbors to end all forms of injustice and discrimination, and strive for the day when all women and men will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. This proclamation is signed this 20th day of January 2020, and it's an honor to present it to you. Dr. Bannister, if you'd like to say a few words.
I'm really, really pleased to be here, and I think it was merely fate because we talked about women, and then my son called me today and told me that he was going to be here tonight. And while I wanted to congratulate him, and while I wanted to tell him how wonderful that was, the truth of the matter, I'm thinking, wait a minute, son. But I didn't say anything, I just smiled. So then he called me back later, Ma, I need your help. Oh, really? How can I? So I'm very, very proud to be here tonight. And Brighton, in its true way of taking care of business and doing things on behalf of your community, you just continue to make us proud. And every year, we always host and boast of having the tallest person in the room on our dais. And we thank you so much. And we thank you for your support. And I have to say one thing. Every year, our community seems to be getting larger and larger, and the celebration is getting bigger and bigger. However, we are encouraging young people to understand that this is for you. We're standing instead because we're waiting for you to grow up and become the people that will take care of this kind of celebration of service, celebration of unity. And again, thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bannister, and really thank you to everybody on the commission, the MLK choir, which just blows the roof off Kodak Hall at that ceremony every year. And you are right. particularly for students. And we did, as part of the recognition of women of the movement. We had girls who were scouts serving as color guard this year, which, again, a nice reflection of the significance not only of the day, but also of the year. So thank you, and so grateful for all you have done in this community for so many, many years. Okay, we will move on our agenda tonight. And I think the next item we have are committee reports. We'll start with you, Robin, the Community Service Committee.
Great. Thank you so much, Bill. The Community Services Committee met on Wednesday, January 15th, 2020, at the Brookside School. And among the items that we discussed, well, I will say that our meeting was somewhat truncated because of some exigent circumstances here at Town Hall. So we have a limited number of items that we discussed. First of which was our Winter Farmers Market update. We do have a new layout for the Winter Farmers Market site that was shared, and Public Works is investigating offering a workshop session to garner feedback from the public at the end of February at a date to be determined.
Do we have a date on that yet, Mike?
No, we haven't arrived at the date yet.
Thank you, Mike. And an update to our community choice aggregation law. We had a discussion of the finalization of the contract with Jewel Assets, which is the chosen CCA administrator, making sure that the contract is reflective of the language of the respondent in the original request for proposals. We're working through the final technical details of the contract now with each of the memorandum of understanding municipalities working independently to reflect its community's priorities in its individual contract with Jewel Assets. There's an acknowledgement that the scope of and expectation of services to be rendered needs to be well thought out and clear for all parties, especially given that there are subcontractor relationships involved. In ongoing discussions with Jewel, we also want to emphasize and make it very clear that the energy will be 100% renewable, but Jewel cannot promise that any individual ratepayer will save money on every single bill. Instead, rates are based on a 12-month look-back period over which we will be optimizing pricing as we go out to bid in the energy marketplace. The importance of continued public presentations. We have met our threshold number of presentations in the community that the Public Service Commission sets forth in its requirements. However, we will continue to have public presentations and make sure that they have a consistency of messaging that we discussed previously, and also continue with that implementation process. In addition to that, we talked about territory acknowledgement at Brighton, and a brief history of territory acknowledgement, which is simply a recognition of the fact that we are on native lands, and that was presented by the Native American Cultural Center by way of a guideline document that was provided to the committee. The Native American Cultural Center is a not-for-profit that provides programs and activities to the community to continue the traditions of the Native American people, and the Cultural Center is located on Empire Boulevard. It's quite a place if you want to check it out. They have an extensive library. We entertained a discussion of the importance of this acknowledgement to the Native American people of Brighton and neighboring communities, and the importance to acknowledge and honor Native Americans as a modern society, not just people of the past. Those in attendance, including several members of our own Brighton Highway Department staff who are Native American in heritage, shared why this acknowledgement is important to them, both personally and culturally, and also for the community. We discussed briefly the relationship between the Seneca Nation, Onondaga Nation, and the Native American Cultural Center, which tends to be Haudenosaunee. And we had conversations on how to do acknowledgements the right way, using the correct resources to get it right, do it well, and in also a respectful manner. Spring was discussed as a potentially good time to formalize any acknowledgement, and we had a discussion of the needs of who needs to be acknowledged and who may be at any community events to implement territory acknowledgement. The possibility of an annual acknowledgement was discussed as a way to educate the community and raise awareness about issues of Indigenous peoples. Finally, under new business, we had a discussion of the Genesee Finger Lakes chapter of the Air and Water Waste Management Association, or the GFLAWMA, Earth Day grant application. We've applied for this grant in the past for our annual Clean Sweep event, and we plan to similarly pursue a grant this year. Among upcoming events that we discussed is our annual Cabin Fever event at the Brookside Recreation Center. That will be on Sunday, January 26th, from 1 to 4 p.m. during our public market. We will have direct sales members, Brighton wardrobe sales. The Winter Farmers Market will be ongoing, as well as the Recreation Department will be open for registration. We hope to see you then. We have our upcoming semi-annual DEA pharmaceutical take-back event. That will be at the Brighton Town Hall in the Public Safety Wing here at 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Saturday, April 25th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And believe it or not, we're already talking about our Brighton annual Clean Sweep event. That will be here at Brighton Town Hall, 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Saturday, May 9th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the last in the trio of our recycling events, a semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event, will be at the Brighton Highway Department, 1941 Elmwood Avenue on Saturday, May 16th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Thursday, a special day, February 20th, 2020, at 9:30 a.m., again at the Brookside Recreation Center in the multipurpose room. As always, members of the public are invited to attend, and we hope to see you there.
Thanks, Robin. Jason, Finance.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Thursday, January 14th. Each of the items that were discussed in committee appear on tonight's agenda and will be discussed and voted on. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, February 4th. We meet at 3:30 in the afternoon in the Stage Conference Room here at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thank you, Jason. Chris.
The Public Works Committee meets monthly on the second Tuesday of the month. Our next monthly meeting will be on Tuesday, the 4th of February at 9 o'clock, and the public is invited.
And are you also giving a report on public safety?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Public Safety meeting met on January 14th as chaired by Council Member Corrado. And amongst the items discussed were the fact that a resident did come for observation. We appreciated that, and he did participate in the meeting, talking about the improper dumping of by contractors at the highway operations facility, and that the situation is difficult to monitor because we do not have dedicated people observing the site. However, that is not permitted, so please, that is a service provided to the public for yard debris, where residents can drop off their yard debris and later they're turned into mulch, but it's not for construction debris or for contractors in general. The Brighton Fire Department reported that there have been 86 calls for service to date in 2020, and in 2019 there were 2,257 calls by the fire department. Rick Tracy is a captain, is that correct? he is a captain. It will now be attending the meetings in the place of Chief Hiller, who has a conflict. There was a discussion and an update of the fire department's experience with the new digital radio system, which appears to be satisfactory for the department, but there are only a handful of fire departments using the digital systems in the area. We're still discussing how well that functions, and the Brighton Fire Department has selected the Motorola digital radios as opposed to the Harris units. The CAD RMS system has not been implemented as yet, but they are doing testing of the system the week prior to our meeting. We're expecting implementation in September of 2020. Public Works reported that leaves and yard debris continues to be picked up as weather permits, and yes, if you still have your leaves outstanding, we're going to get them. Current breaks in the weather have allowed crews to make some headway. Police Department provided a brief update as well on the implementation of the new radio system. Brighton, Webster, and Irondequoit are currently testing that new system. And however, Irondequoit has recently opted out of the testing due to issues with reception and service. The Brighton Police Department indicated that the Harris system has been that Harris itself, the company, has been proactive in working with them to resolve various connection issues, and they'll be providing us with repeaters and working to resolve service issues. The fire department provided a brief update for the Rochester Fire Department on their new digital radio switchover initiative. As yet, they have not currently transitioned over to the new system. They're aware that there are issues and concerns about digital radio technology. The two main issues relating to coverage reception in certain areas of the county and the delay in message transmission. Again, the jury's still out on all of that, and we're still studying which is the most effective radio system. And the suggestion was made that we invite Jim Quinn from Harris, I believe, to provide the committee with insights into the system.
And Jim is a long time, both Brighton Fire Department and West Brighton Fire Department.
I believe he's retired from Harris, but so he can give us a fresh look at that. There have been approximately 57 calls for service in Brighton to date by the Rochester Fire Department in 2020, and 1,061 calls in Brighton by the Rochester Fire Department in 2019 in the West Brighton area. There was a discussion of school speed limits, which are still under discussion with Councilmember Corrado and Mike Guyon, and investigating the use of school speed limits. Target areas of concern are the 12 Corners and Elmwood Avenue area, and they will continue to study and provide an update at the February meeting. Traffic safety on South Winton Road at the Brighton High School bus loop was discussed again, and we are still considering eliminating 2 parking spaces along Winton on the northern end of the bus loop along Winton Road out front of the high school to provide a better sight distance. And at some point, we will set a public hearing on that. There was also discussion of a geothermal well at Willard Avenue and thermal wells in general to provide geothermal heating and cooling. And the release of methane gases periodically when those wells are dug, and the concerns that are raised within the community.
Sometimes.
Of folks that
Not
are
always.
concerned about the
Sometimes.
smell of gas. The initial attempt to cap was not successful due to the volume of water that was being generated from the well. But we're looking at whether there are other communities that are regulating the drilling of these wells. But as yet, we see nothing within the county regulating their installation. We will continue to investigate the inclusion of language in the geothermal permit form, which will require installers to notify first responders when a methane leak is encountered, just so we know how to handle the calls that come in of folks that are concerned about a gas leak. I'm told that the methane release is not dangerous, but it is disconcerting. We also had a discussion of traffic safety along Elmwood Avenue at David and Jarnes Arbor Drive intersection. Folks from the St. John's Meadows are collecting data and will provide feedback about traffic speed and volume with concerns about turns in and out of St. John's Meadows. That data will be submitted to the Monroe County Department of Transportation for evaluation as to the feasibility of a traffic light installation there. Also, there was some discussion of the Public Safety Committee calendar review and reviewed the proposed 2020 meeting schedule at the meeting. The committee discussed the potential of moving the time of 1 or 2 meetings to facilitate attendance by residents who might not be able to attend at 8 o'clock in the morning. The committee decided that a change in time might confuse regular attendees, and that it was decided that there would be no change for the proposed 2020 meeting schedule. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, February the 11th at 0800.
Thanks, Chris.
The public is invited.
Couple related things I want to follow on, because you talked about the CAD, which in this context is not a computer-aided design system. It's a dispatch system. And as Chris noted, at this point, it looks like the CAD system, the new system, will be up and running in September. That's a county system, and that's actually quite a bit later than had until recently been anticipated. The original expectation was that it would be in February. The reason that's important to us is it relates to the recent discussions about the future of Fire Station 3 at the corner of Blossom and Clover Street. As you'll recall, the fire department was considering various potential actions with respect to Fire Station number 3. They involved the public, they involved a committee of community leaders, including Councilmember Corrado, to look at that. They made a decision to keep Station 3 open with at least one full-time paid firefighter stationed at that location at all times. But once the CAD system was fully installed, they committed to doing a test of putting a second paid firefighter, reflecting the added paid firefighter that recently was hired. Actually, several of them, but it takes multiple people to hire one 24/7 equivalent coverage. But that would involve some changes to dispatch boundaries. And they can't do that until that CAD system is installed and the system is unfrozen. They're not making any changes to boundaries right now. What we had hoped would be a test earlier in the year looks like it will probably be a test later in the year. But again, as we said previously, we appreciate the fact that the fire department really engaged the community in looking at all the possible options, and not only committed to keeping the station open as it currently runs, but looking on a real hands-on basis at an enhancement of service over there. And time will tell whether that makes sense. So it's one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing that I know Christine would have mentioned if she had been here, yesterday she and I were made aware of a concern at the Iceplex adjacent to the MCC campus in Brighton. Not only is the ice arena there, but Lattimore Physical Therapy is also there. And a member of the community who was heading over there for PT treatment at Lattimore was unable to park in one of the designated handicap parking spaces at the rink. And as he scrambled to find a place where he could park that was a reasonable place for him, he observed that most, if not all, of the cars parked in that location did not have the handicapped parking hang tags on them. There was a tournament going on, apparently. And he was a little ticked off, and I don't blame him. so Chief Cathaldi and I discussed this today, and David went out there, did a personal inspection, observed that there are 8 spaces, handicap spaces there. They are properly marked, signed. But those spaces need to be made available for people who need them. We've not gotten any 911 calls about those handicap parking spaces. And one of the reasons I wanted to say something about this tonight is to remind the community, you know, all too often, and I get it, you don't want to bother the police. That's what they're there for. When someone is illegally parked in a handicapped spot, the operative word is illegal. And that's exactly one of the many reasons that we have a Brighton Police Department, is to make sure that facilities that are meant to be accessible are accessible. So whether you're at the Iceplex or anywhere else in the town of Brighton, and you see what appears to be illegal parking in a handicapped spot, yes, call 911, and the Brighton Police will respond. They will respond quickly. Actually, I had occasion last night on a completely unrelated matter to call 911. I unfortunately was the first person to witness a car deer accident on Westfall Road last evening. And they were there in a hurry. Nobody was hurt other than the car and the deer. So that's why they're there. That's why our police are there, to respond, and they do respond quickly. So I really want to encourage anybody. Parking in a disabled parking spot, it's wrong. So please do not hesitate. Call 911 if you see that. And we'll be following up with the Iceplex management, make them aware of the problem, and make sure they're doing some policing, that they are systematically advising, particularly tournaments and other groups there, using the Iceplex to follow the law and not to park in those handicap parking spaces unless they're doing so legally. So just wanted to add those in. I thought that would sort of follow on with your report, and thank you for that report. We'll now move on to new business. And Jason, the reading and approval of claims.
Yes, Bill, earlier this evening, I reviewed claims totaling $1,469,786.36. Notable claims include to the American Rock Salt Company in the amount of $45,021.52 for purchase of road treatment salt for the snow season via our state contract. Also to the Brighton Fire District in the amount of $800,000 for the first payment of the 2020 property taxes collected on behalf of the Brighton Fire District. Also to Five Star Improvements in the amount of $8,000 for payment of the gazebo repairs for the gazebo at the 12 Corners. Also to Joe Johnson Equipment in the amount of $10,073.84 for the purchase of sweeper parts, flusher parts, debris hoses, and a root cutter for the sewer district or the sewer department. And finally, to ML Cacama's Electric Corp. in the amount of $36,744.73, which was payment for the installation of lighting for the Browncroft Lighting District per county/city contract pricing. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second.
Any discussion on any of those? Not, Dan, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. It's a little out of the ordinary, because normally the supervisor doesn't make motions, but I'm going to ask for your indulgence and take the next one myself. Recently, I heard, really as the outgrowth of a thread on social media, from David K. Johnson. David is a Brighton resident. He is also a Pulitzer Prize winner from his days writing for the New York Times. He has written a number of books. And he engaged in a discussion on social media about various services and how the town provides services. And the discussion turned to the use of special districts in providing services. And through the discussion, we've talked about the tax cap a lot, but special district charges, and particularly special district charges that are not ad valorem, but that are unit-based, and we have a number of those that do exist. Special districts are vehicles for the town, sort of as the agent for everybody in the district, to make sure that services are provided. That might be sewer services. We talked about ambulance services earlier. We have a Brighton Volunteer Ambulance District. We have sidewalk snow removal district. So neighborhoods have the opportunity to form a district. We all have the obligation, the legal obligation, to keep our sidewalks clear. Doing it through a district, make sure they're done, and very early in the day, I would add, in time for kids to get to school. But so we don't have to get out with our shovels or our snow blowers or the teenager down the street and their shovel or a snow blower. The challenge we've faced for a number of years is that those district charges, which are generated because residents come to us and say, please, we would like to pay you more. We would like to pay for services because we know that you can do it for us cheaper. We know that if we set up a refuse district, that we can have our garbage picked up for probably $100 a year less than if you just called up Waste Management. We know that the sidewalks can be cleared of snow at a remarkably low cost for the whole season. So we would like you, town, to do that for us, and we will pay you under the rubric of this special district. And that's a great thing, and we've been doing it for years. We have many, many districts in town, particularly refuse districts, sidewalk snow removal districts, and others. When the New York State tax cap was implemented, which is not a bad thing, fiscal responsibility, but those new services became subject to the tax cap. So when a neighborhood comes to us and says, please, we'd like you to plow our sidewalks, we go through and follow the town law procedures for doing that. But those new charges, typically not very much in a year, $30 or so per household per year. Am I close there, Paula? Pretty close.
Depending on the service.
Depending on, yeah, but you know, for that you get, you know, the sidewalk snowplow comes down the street in the morning. Those charges go against the tax cap and impinge on our ability to continue to provide the broad range of services: police, debris pickup, leaf pickup, snow, street snow removal, recreation program, all the things that town government does. So David K. Johnson asked that we consider a sort of a sense of the town board resolution urging the state to exempt those special district charges from the tax cap. And I wanted to take this up because in my role as a vice president of the State Association of Towns, that's something we as an organization have advocated for. It hasn't happened. And again, I think the tax cap is an important step towards making our town and other communities affordable, but I also think quality life is important. And these services are quality of life services that you, our residents, have asked for. So I am going to move tonight, and again give kudos to David, that the town board take action on the resolution that you have before you, urging the state of New York to exempt district charges from the tax cap. And I make the motion in the form that you have in front of you. Can I have a second? Thank you, Chris. Any discussion on that?
Bill, I agree with you. It is such an opportunity to provide a special service to an individual neighborhood that's trying to save money with bulk bid on a particular service, refuse pickup. It's as simple as that. You can contract yourself, or you can gather together with your neighbors, with the help of the town, form a district and save money. But if it's paid through the town, it automatically comes in under the tax cap. And when we provide that additional service to that particular neighborhood, something else has to go on the level of service within the town.
Or at least it puts other services in jeopardy.
At risk. It's like, how are we going to save that much amount of money from our town budget and still stay within the tax cap? I agree very strongly with you, Bill, and I'm very much in favor of this resolution.
Thanks. It does call for forwarding this not only to our state assembly, Jamie Romeo, to our state senator, Joe Robach, also to the governor. I think we'll send it to the leadership in the Senate and Assembly, and also to the Association of Towns. Any further comments on this?
Well, I will just say is, in addition to adding value to our residents, it also increases sustainability, which is a very important component. So we definitely want to incentivize this behavior, and to be penalized for it is just wrongheaded.
Anything else?
And I think along with what my colleagues have said, that we can provide services better, just to continue along the refuse pickup. When I first moved to Brighton, my neighborhood was not part of a district. Every day was garbage day. Now we're part of a district. It's on Thursday mornings. So everybody puts their toters out, their recycle bins out. So you just have the trucks, you just have the noise one day of the week and the on-site. So it's better service provided at a better rate. And I think we need to help educate our leaders in state government as to the benefits of this concept.
And that ties in, of course, with what Robin said. That's an example of the sustainability, having one truck go down the street one day a week versus having a Monday truck, a Tuesday truck, a Wednesday truck, because you got waste management, you got lilac, you may have some others, reduces our greenhouse gas emissions. So, further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Next matter, Chris.
This is to authorize the continuance of Monroe County's towing rates effective February 1, 2019 for the entire year 2020, towing vendor agreements. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This is a contract that we've had in place for a number of years. There's no change in pricing. Chief, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think you've covered it. They're 3 longtime vendors for us, probably pushing 15 to almost 20 years. We're satisfied with the service they provide.
Good. Then we have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to accept a donation from Howard and Daphne Cohen in the amount of $500 and amending the budget by said amount. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is a donation by Mr. and Mrs. Cohen to the police department, and we appreciate their generosity. This will make some formal budget amendments, and I know the chief will reach out and thank them for their generosity. For the discussion, hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize a budget transfer in the amount of $35,000 from the police department forfeited property account to the facility improvements account to upgrade department keys and locks and install electronic key card readers on doors. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Chief, do you want to talk about this? I know you addressed it during the
Sure.
Safety Committee and Finance Committee, but
Sure, it's, so what this project's going to entail is rekeying the entire police department. We do have secure areas within the police department. property room, records, places where we keep money, where it's limited access throughout the department. It's been 30 years since any of the keys have been upgraded. We're going to upgrade to a key card system, just like most businesses have nowadays. It'll provide better safety and security for the employees, and better accountability to know who is in the building and when. And it's budget neutral.
And it's budget neutral because the funds are coming from our seized assets account, which we are allowed to use for enhancements like this program. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anything further? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Robin?
Thanks, Bill. The next matter seeks the acceptance of a state and municipal facilities program grant from the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York in the amount of $500,000 to fund a portion of the Brighton Farmers Market and authorize the supervisor to execute contracts and other related documents and authorize any necessary amendments to the capital projects budget. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And just to note, Supervisor, the resolution also authorizes me as attorney to the town to prepare an opinion of counsel as required by the Dormitory Authority in connection with the grant.
Thank you. This is part of our ongoing work, and not only, we had a brief discussion earlier about the design and the status of that and community outreach on that, but nothing happens without money. And this is part of the ongoing process of going through what is a very long and drawn-out state documentation and approval process to get money that's been committed to us for quite some time. But this is just another step in that process and gets us one very big step closer to the work we're going to be doing out there this construction season. Anything else from anybody? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to authorize an application for NYSERDA Charge Ready New York rebate in the amount of $8,000 to install a Level 2 electric vehicle charging station here at Town Hall, and to authorize the supervisor to execute the related documents and amend the budget accordingly. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
As you know, we have an existing station, charging station on site. This grant will allow us to install a new station, serving 2 vehicles at a time, but it will be part of the charge point system, so we will be generating revenues from the station, and it will really incent people to make sure they get their vehicle charged and leave, so that others can charge their vehicles. This grant will cover almost the entire cost of purchasing the equipment, and I anticipate that most of the installation work we will do ourselves.
And just wanted to point out, Supervisor, that the resolution before you also authorizes the purchase of that unit for a cost not to exceed $8,165.
Yep. So that $165 is the effective net cost of that, and we'll see if we can.
Right, and that authorization is contingent upon getting the grant money.
Right.
And Bill, this is not to raise revenues off of that charging station, but really just to reimburse the town what's being
Absolutely,
consumed.
yes, the cost of electricity, exactly. But it does, there have been concerns raised about, the length of time that cars are there.
Yeah.
The good news is we're seeing dramatically increased usage there, and we just want to make sure that everybody that wants to and needs to charge their car there is able to do that.
And Bill, the plan is to relocate this unit to, is it Buckland Park?
That's
Is that the
currently the
intent?
plan.
Is that right, Mike?
The initial plan, we gotta confirm the location, that's all.
Great.
We have a motion and a second on that. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. And Chris, why don't you do these appointments?
The next item is for reappointments to the Conservation Board. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
These are Dennis Adams, Mitch Nellis, Susan Riblet, and George Smith, volunteering to continue on for a further 2-year terms. We appreciate that very much.
Stalwarts. I mean, these are the base of knowledge that these folks have. George Smith, of course, is a teacher at the high school, teaches those advanced placement environmental students. They were so engaged in some of the work that was done, stormwater related on the school campus. Dennis Adams, you know, what can you say about someone like, all 4 of them are, you know, Mitch Nellis has been engaged in clean sweep.
And sustainability.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
Sue Riblet, again, does a lot in so many different ways. So very pleased that we are reappointing them.
I think, didn't George come in and apply for a different board? And it proves the point that if you stick your, if you raise your hand in this town to volunteer, we're going to find something for you.
We're going to find you.
And I just wanted to point out on this matter, Supervisor, that
Yes, good point.
the terms for this board have not lined up for calendar year end as many of our other boards have. And so part of what we're doing in this resolution is modifying the terms of these members so that their terms will end at calendar year end. So these, we're calling them 2-year terms, but in fact, they're a little longer than that because they're effective from July 1st of 2019, last summer, through December 31st of 2021. And it's my understanding all 4 of them are willing?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we will, and, you know, and in our next cycle again, we will get these terms of the other members of the Conservation Board, because half of them were up this year, half of them were up last year. When we do those reappointments at mid-year this year, we will also extend them to a calendar year basis. So we have motion and a second. Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
That was me.
Robin, thank you. Discussion on any of them? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFoncio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Robin?
The next matter seeks to set a public hearing for proposed tree removals at 32 Hartfeld Drive, 679 North Landing Road, 207 Orchard Drive, 75 Terrytown Road, 200 Pelham Road, 104 Shoreham Drive, 20 Motor Lane, and 32 Motor Lane. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Mike, would you like to talk about these?
All the trees have been presented to the tree council, and they've agreed with the removal of the trees also have been presented to the town board. As part of the tree law, they're all significant trees, which means their diameter is greater than 30 inches in diameter. So we're looking to have a public hearing. We'll give the folks a chance to say they agree with the tree removals or disagree with the tree removals. We'll notify all the residents in the vicinity as part of the law. And I think the meeting's set for the 26th, and I'll wait to hear some correspondence.
Right. The correspondence didn't ask for a specific public hearing date. I looked at the calendar and picked the 26th of February. I mean, it does put a little pressure on the department because there's a lot of addresses here to get all those letters out. They have to be out, as you know, 20 days in advance. So,
What I'll do is I'll give it to the department. Chad's been very good getting these out. He has a system, so we'll make sure we get them out tomorrow.
and then there's a public hearing notice as well that needs to be published, and I think the town clerk should have plenty of time to get that published.
Okay. And we've, obviously, we've got the material here. These trees have been reviewed, and
Yes.
they're all problematic.
Too bad, but yeah.
It is too bad. But- Okay, we have motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to set a public hearing for a proposed addendum to the town's public right-of-way permit. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Bill, this is for First Light Fiber INC?
Yep. And I'll let, I don't know whether Ken or Mike wants to.
Well,
Well, I'll talk about the legal side of it. Yeah, it's not just a general highway permit for all in the town. It's for a particular company that needs to do some work in the right-of-way, and town law requires that the town board hold a public hearing if it's going to modify any of those permissions that it gives others to work in the right-of-way. So that's why we're holding the public hearing.
the intent of the addendum is to better protect our right-of-way. There are certain clauses that we want to make sure that the folks that are going to be working within our right-of-way take care of the right-of-way, minimize disturbance, make sure there's less convenience to the residents, and we actually end up knowing where the utilities are. There's record maps required and things.
Less inconvenience.
What did I say, more
I
inconvenience?
thought you said less convenience, but.
We're correct. All right, Ken, I stand corrected.
Now, First Light Fiber is in the high-speed internet business, in fiber optics and so forth. Are they going to come in competition with our existing providers? Do you know what their intentions are?
I don't at this point, Chris. I mean, I can make an assumption, but that generally doesn't end well, but, but that was my first thought, is that they would come in as a competition to the other providers in the area,
Interesting.
which I think would be a benefit to our residents.
Always.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and this will, again, this public hearing would be held on the 26th. If there's no further discussion, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. And Chris, why don't you do the last one?
Next item is to authorize approval of the proposed 2020 Public Safety Committee meeting schedule, as we mentioned previously. I move that we adopt the resolution before us with that schedule.
Second.
And again, as you mentioned previously, we're going to continue with that 8 a.m. schedule on
Yes.
Excuse me.
those dates through the year. Can I have we have a motion and a second? Discussion at all? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, we spoke earlier about leaf pickup, and just as Mike promised, and we kept, it's been snowing. And we kept, and I think the community kept wondering, could our people continue to pick up leaves through all the snow? And I hope that everybody out there, and because almost everybody has on what is now the third pass through town by our highway crews picking up leaves, seeing that, yeah, we had a nice spell of weather and that helped, but they've been picking up leaves, rain, snow, sun, and we never get enough of the sun this time of year. They are virtually complete now with that third pass. They will complete the third pass tomorrow, having gone from west to east again. And they're going to go back. And again, as long as the weather will allow them to, and their other duties will allow them to, they will continue to pick up leaves. We'll do the broken record again. Please put them on the lawn. Don't put them in the street. Hopefully at this point you have relatively small quantities of leaves, and if you can, please containerize them. But we have seen people, as the crews have gone through, I've seen them in my neighborhood a couple weeks ago, actually, around New Year's, they were out raking more leaves, and so they're out there and they'll be picking those bulk leaves up. Also want to note they're picking up Christmas trees as they go around, and the one thing I would say, again, put them on the grass, don't put them in the street. And the one thing I would say is don't put them in plastic. We mulch them, so from a sustainable environmental point of view, please don't wrap them in plastic. Just put the tree out by the street. Going along with the time of year, just a reminder, we have overnight parking restrictions through the winter season. No overnight parking. And by the way, that law is in effect. It doesn't matter whether it's snowing or not on any given night. No overnight parking this time of year. No parking from 2 until 7 in the morning. So please, and I guess the other thing I would note, when we do get a significant snow event, if at all possible, don't wait until 2 in the morning. If you can park your car in your driveway or in your garage whenever we have a snow event and our crews are plowing, your street will get plowed faster and more completely if they're not swerving around those cars parked in the street. So if you can, when we get a snow event, and we may again this weekend, try to get your car in your driveway or in your garage.
Roger, if I might, that also does not mean pull it up onto the lawn.
Correct.
I'm seeing a lot of that out and about this year for whatever reason, so.
That is not legal either.
Not legal either, so keep that in mind.
And that again, that is something that our police department does ticket people for. Finally, I want to note an event coming this Sunday. This Historic Brighton is sponsoring Jim Memmott. If you read his column in the DNC over the years, Remarkable Rochesterians, Jim will be speaking about some remarkable Brightonians, I think, among other things, at a talk Historic Brighton is sponsoring this Sunday at 2:30 p.m. In the Brickstone Winter Garden. There'll be some other really nice, fun recognition that night, and I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to say what it is, so I'm just not going to. But you're all going to want to come for that.
Check it out.
If for no other reason. You're going to want to come to see Jim, but you're also going to want to come for the recognition that's going on. So that is all that I have. Matters of the attorney to the town.
No, I have nothing.
Matters of the town clerk.
Nothing, I mean, tax collection is underway. Just remind folks that if you're not able to make it here during regular business hours, we do have the drop box located at the rear of the building and entrance number 9. More and more usage of that as time goes on, which is great. And we're starting to see payments to other departments showing up in there as well, which is certainly welcome. So those coming in, the due date coming up on February 10th. And I guess the other thing quickly as we approach the end of the month, for folks who are planning on utilizing installments to pay their taxes, I know the stub says February 10th is the first installment due date. Forget that date. Just wipe it out of your head. Think of the first installment as January 31st. It'll make your household budgeting much easier than trying to squeeze 2 payments into the shortest month of the year. The tax bill it would require a change of the tax law in order to change the dates on the bill. So I'm not going to formally accomplish this little goal of mine anytime soon, but we're trying to get that message out in the office is don't put that unnecessary stress on yourself and on the budget. You'll get that first payment in. It's 10 days earlier than it says on the stub. Why put yourself through that stressor?
And of course, the other reminder, more and more of us are doing electronic bill paying. But Dan warns us, you cannot rely on your electronic bill paying service as a way to pay your bill on February 10th or even February 9th or 8th.
It's true. It works until it doesn't.
Right.
And it's no fault of the bank. It's no fault of anyone in particular. But the way these work is that you put in the request, you tell your bank to have it delivered on February 9th or 8th or whatever the date might be to get it in ahead of the due date. But if there's some sort of delay in the USPS, you're liable for the interest because the class of mail that gets used by the companies that do these check mailings do not get U.S. postmarks. And that is by law what I have to go by, and that's what governs it. It's either U.S. postmark or date received failing a postmark. And if something happens through no fault of yours, through no fault of your bank's even, but just whether something happens to get that delayed, then I have to tell you, give the exciting, happy news that you are liable for the interest. And I've had that conversation a lot. And that's what I always kind of say. It's like, we don't encourage it. More and more people are doing it anyway. I know my household bills get paid by that predominantly at this point. I haven't had any get delayed myself in my personal life, but seeing it from the other side of the counter with the volume that we see, there's a number of people every cycle this happens to. So we just put that, that buyer beware warning out there. So it's the best way you always know you have it is to walk in and drop it off, and you get a stamp. You leave the office with a stamp, or if you go to the post office, walk up to the counter, chat with the folks at our Lomans Plaza post office are awesome. They're very nice. They go against the some of the post office, the things that people say about the post office. Great folks. Go up, get it hand stamped right there at the counter too. That way that's got there. If it falls between the seats in the mail Jeep for a month and shows up at my door in March, it's got that, February 9th date, we're going to go back and give you that credit. So, play it safe.
Thanks, Dan. Any matters of the town board?
Sure, Bill. I'd like to go over some recreation announcements. Our formal date for non-resident registration for the winter-spring 2020 season of the Recreation Department was January 14th, so the winter-spring 2020 season has officially begun. With that, we'd like to remind you that classes are underway and invite you to take a look at our offerings in our program brochure and see if there's something that would be of interest to you or your family. We have events and programs for the entire community, regardless of residency. All are welcome. We hope that you'll find something that piques your interest and join us in the new year. Please check out our full listing of programs either online. Registrations can be done online, in mail, in person, over the phone. So please don't hesitate to contact our registration office or ask questions. The number for the Brighton Recreation Department is 784-5260, extension 0, and you can find us online at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. And I'll remind people that our Brighton Winter Farmers Market is currently in session. You can join us at the Brighton Farmers Market every Sunday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center at 220 Idlewood Road. We're really excited for another great indoor season. In addition to that, I want to remind people that our Brighton Senior Rides program, there is a driver shortage. We do need volunteers. This is a program through Lifespan. If you know of anyone who would be willing to drive a couple times a month, drivers are greatly appreciated by the folks who rely on Brighton Senior Rides to get where they need to go. Lifespan's Brighton Senior Rides volunteer transportation program helps get our seniors in need free rides to medical appointments, religious services, or to our recreation center. So call 340-8674 for more information on volunteering for this critical program for the community. I want to highlight that we do have open and lap swim times at the Brighton High School pool that is offered through the Brighton Recreation Department. And so I'm not sure everybody is aware that there are community swim times available at the Brighton High School pool. Early morning and evening swim times are available for your convenience, so do check those out. Again, if you'd like to see our full program listings, go to our website at www.townofbrighton.org/rec for the complete listing of available pool times by month. Or you can call us at 784-5260, and the Recreation Department will email you a schedule. Thanks so much. That's all I have, Phil.
Thanks, Robin. Any other matters from the board?
Bill, regarding the parking spots out front of the high school, we're going to set a hearing
I
on
think
that?
probably at the next meeting, we'll set a public hearing.
Okay,
Working on a letter tonight, so.
great.
All right. There's nothing more. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss real estate and litigation?
So moved.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Thank you, everybody. I don't expect coming back out after the executive session. Our next town board meeting will be held Wednesday night, February 12th at 7 p.m. Have a great evening, and again, thank you, Dr. Bannister, for being with us this evening. Have a great night, everybody.